Hello, I'm Bethany from Bethany Wellness. Join me for part 4 of this Reflect and Renew yoga class. Hello everyone, I'm so glad you could join me today for this final part 4 of our series, Reflect and Renew. So some items we'll need to gather would be 2 pillows, 2 blankets or towels, and then I have 2 yoga blocks, or you can choose to just have pillows, more towels, a yoga strap or a belt or scarf, and then a journal. So in these Reflect and Renew classes, if you've joined in on any of the other ones, you're familiar with the idea of just resting in a pose for several minutes. And so because we're resting, we want to have lots of support and lots of props. And hopefully these household items are things that are just easy enough for you to grab so that we can focus on renewal and restoration today. So let's begin. We're going to start just by maybe having the block, or not the block, excuse me, the belt or the strap. So you can move your other goodies away. All right. And just come to lying down on your mat on your back and have your belt, your scarf, or your strap nearby. And just begin to settle in here. Bring your feet to the mat with your knees bent. Take some nice full breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. As you exhale, it's a slow exhale, almost like you're fogging up a mirror. And if you tune in for our other Reflect and Renew classes, you are aware that it's a 4-part series where we focus on looking back to last year, reflecting on it, and then approaching this year with intention and purpose. So in part 1, we reflected and we looked back at last year and we focused on our health. We were just kind of tuning into our health. And in the second series, we looked at love, kind of unpacked love. And for our third series, we looked at growth. For this 4th and final series, we are going to dive in and look at wealth. So thinking about wealth, find your strap, stick your right foot into the strap and stretch your right leg high to the sky. And just pull down on that strap. And let your foot relax so that the strap is actually kind of pulling on your foot to allow the stretch through the heel into the back of your leg. If this is too intense, you can lower the strap, lowering the foot maybe farther away, not quite so vertical. And we're just going to hold here. So as we're holding, we want to make sure not to build tension anywhere. Sometimes there can be tension in the neck or the shoulders as we're sort of really holding onto that leg. So I want you to be mindful and tune in what's comfortable. Sometimes it's helpful to bring the elbows down by your sides. Sometimes it's nice to really notice the wrists and make sure that they're straight, that we're not bending them in strange ways. I find sometimes I like to reach up because I feel like that helps my wrists stay neutral and it doesn't bring any tension to my neck or shoulders. But you decide for your body, just explore what's going to be comfortable as we hold this pose. So as we're reflecting on 2020, looking back to last year, and we're going to look at the topic of wealth, but specifically looking in this pose, looking at money. And it's okay to talk about money. Sometimes people don't want to talk about money. It's like this weird subject where we don't want to talk about it if we're ashamed of the way that we have debt, or we don't want to talk about it if we actually don't have debt and we have a nice amount of money. It's like this funny topic, but we're in a comfortable space. So this is just your thoughts for you. So I want you to think about money in the year 2020. For you, how did that look? How was your financial situation for you personally in 2020? Just kind of scan and assess without overthinking, just whatever comes to mind. First couple things that come to mind for you. Good. Couple more breaths. Then slowly begin to micro-bend that knee so that you can lower the leg down, and then bend the knee in as you bring that strap off of that foot and switch sides so the strap comes into the left foot. Choosing here how you would like to hold that side, being mindful of the wrists, the elbows may be tucked in to keep the neck and shoulders happier, less tension there, or stretch the leg or stretch the hand towards the leg. And just noticing here on this side where you might need to be soft, where you might be still holding or gripping. As we hold these poses a lot longer in this restorative practice, it allows time to allow the space and the connective tissue, the muscles. It also allows us to just settle into stillness and resist the temptation to wiggle or be moving through the poses. We're just being in stillness in the pose. Do another kind of thought or two about how your personal finances were in 2020. Just thinking about money. Be sure that you have a nice steady flow of breath, a breathing pattern that is full from the belly up to shoulders, allowing the pause between your inhale and your exhale. Couple more breaths. And micro bend your knee first, just allowing a little movement, then bend it a little bit more. Remove that strap and slowly roll to one side to help yourself up to a seated position. And coming to find your journal here, let's jot down things that came to mind. I have 3 questions for you to jot down answers. So looking at wealth, starting with the topic of money, what went well for you personally with money in 2020? And just write down the first 1 or 2 things that come to mind without overthinking it. And what was hard? So second question, what was hard for you in the year 2020 in terms of money? And third question, how will you approach this year, so 2021, how will you approach money for you personally, your finances, your personal money situation? Good. And if nothing's coming to mind, that's okay. You can always just assess it later. You at least have the questions and the topic. So let's move on to our next topic and next pose. You may wish to have one of your blankets or your towels to sit on, turning sideways onto your mat. Sit towards the front of your towel if that's what you choose to have underneath you. That way, if you're sitting towards the front, the pelvis tilts down a little bit there. So 2 options for the next pose. You can stretch the left leg out and hug the right leg in, and just use your hands to hug that leg in. That's the first option. Second option would bring left heel to right sits bone. Wiggle a little bit first, and then draw the right foot outside of your left leg and hug the right leg in. So 2 options there. Any other props you would like. So if you'd like to place something under the left sits bone, if you'd like to use maybe your strap to help kind of hug in, if you'd like to have a pillow to just kind of lay down here. So just accessing what's comfortable for you in this pose. It's going to be different for all of us. That's the part that I love about yoga. It meets us where we're at, and we give ourselves permission to just be in that pose with our own capabilities and our own comfort, meeting ourselves where we're at. When we're spending time in this pose, I'd like you to think of a different way of framing wealth. So wealth doesn't always mean material possessions or money. I'd like you to think of wealth as blessings. So think about the year 2020. Which ways were you blessed? That can be something that's very enriching in our lives if there was blessings. So think for you, last year, what were your blessings? And they can be material blessings, or more just about the things that were placed in your life or the people that were placed in your life. I look at my family, and I think that's a thing of wealth for me. I'm just so blessed to have my children, my husband. So think about things like that, things that you feel blessed by. Settle into your breathing pattern. So sometimes it's hard when we're holding these poses for quite a while, and if there's any areas of tension, we can sometimes grip our breath and take more shallow breaths. So just reminder here to come back to full breaths, to just really feel the breath flowing from the belly up to the shoulders. To take your time in your breath to allow that pause between the inhale and the exhale. Sometimes it's helpful to just close your eyes, to just try to find that stillness and that rest in these poses. Got a couple more breaths. And then slowly begin to unwind from the pose, bringing that right leg, stretch out both legs. And just give them a little bit of time here to be stretched out. You can even shimmy a little bit. And then switching sides. So this time the left leg is hugged in. So if you chose the right leg will extend if that's what you're choosing for this side, and the left leg will hug in. Or if you'd like to try the other variation, the right heel comes to your left sits bone, finding your alignment first to sit tall, and then bring the right foot outside, the left foot outside of your right leg. And the left leg stays hugged in here. So whichever variation you choose, we're hugging in the left leg. And find that breath. And there's always going to be that tendency to just grip it first if you have tight spots. So just be aware of that if you're finding some tension in there, whether it's in the glutes, the hips, the thighs. Try to find your breath. Try to soften rather than grip. Breath is a wonderful tool, a wonderful guide to help draw you into that softness, that stillness, to help open space. Of course, just to help us to be present in this moment as we're holding these poses for longer than usual. That's the part I love about the restorative yoga practices, is just being still in the pose and meeting yourself where you're at. And coming back to anything that comes to mind for you for the topic of wealth, but in the area of blessings. How are you blessed last year? Feel free to close your eyes. We have about another minute here. Couple more breaths. Good. Then slowly unwind, stretch your legs out, let them have a little stretch out time. You can even shimmy them a little. If you'd like to grab your journal here with your legs stretched out, you can do that, or if you'd rather sit cross-legged, that's fine too. So jotting down in the area of blessings, what went well in 2020? What was a wonderful blessing for you in 2020? And looking at maybe what was challenging, what was difficult in the area of blessings in 2020. And then how will you approach 2021 in terms of thinking of blessings? Maybe you approach it in terms of blessing others. That segues into our next topic. I couldn't help myself. All right, so place your journals back down. Come into tabletop on your mat. So on your hands and knees, find your wrists under your shoulders. They're in alignment. Knees are under hips. Just take a few breaths here. Then inhale, bring the right arm out to the side. Exhale, thread the needle. Bring that right hand between your left wrist and your left knee and release the right ear down to the mat. And here's where you may wish to have a pillow. Maybe you'd rather place your head on a pillow instead of on the mat. Maybe it feels better to have pillows supporting underneath your hips, between your hips or your sits bones and your heels. So just choose here what's going to be a comfortable pose as we hold this longer than normal. You can also choose here with the left arm if you'd like to have the left arm stretched towards the top of your mat, or if you'd like to take a bind and see how that feels. And then let's ponder here in our wealth category. Let's look at the area of giving. Giving to others, whether it's giving of our time, our talent, our resources, money, whatever it is. Looking back to last year, how did you give? There's so many ways we can give. And when we can give to others, we bless them in more ways than we might even realize. And I believe we were put on this earth to help one another and bless one another. And I also believe that we are blessed so that we can be a blessing to others. And take some nice full breaths, settling in here a little more. Feel free to close your eyes. Couple more breaths. Good. Then slowly unwind your bind if you took the bind, or draw your hand back in underneath your left shoulder. Then press out of the pose, coming into table. Just spend a few breaths here in table. And bring the left arm out to the side at shoulder height. Exhale, thread the needle. Bring your left ear to rest down on your blanket or your pillow or the mat. Settle in here on this side, choosing if you'd like to have a bind or if you'd like to just bring your right arm up towards the top of your mat. Settling into a breathing pattern that allows you to be still, draws you into this present moment. And do any final thoughts you might have as you assess last year and giving. What did giving look like for you? In what ways did you give to others? Take a couple more nice full breaths. And then bring your right hand underneath your right shoulder. Press out of the pose, coming into table. Very good. And let's come to lying on your back. Hug your knees in. You can just have, oh, wait, we got a journal. I got so nice and relaxed, I forgot to journal. So in that pose, let's write any thoughts we had on what went well in the area of giving last year. And then what was hard? What was a challenge for you? And how will you approach 2021 in the area of giving? Good. Now let's come to lying down. Hug your knees in. You may wish to have your props nearby, because if they're there, they're a nice option for our final surrender pose. So here, just take a few breaths with your knees hugged in. You can wrap your arms around your shins or behind your thighs. And preparing for spinal twist, bring your feet to the mat. Bring your arms out to a T, palms are down. If you like a deeper twist, draw your feet closer together. More gentle would be having the feet wide. Take a breath in, then exhale, legs fall to the left. Gaze is up or to the right. Inhale, legs to center. Exhale, let them release to the right as you gaze up or to the left. Take nice full breaths as you're in your twist. Good, then bring legs back to center, hug them in one last time. And then release down for final surrender, Shavasana. Like I said, if you have those awesome props, feel free to use them. I like to place the pillows underneath my knees. In the supported Shavasana, feels so nice. And then you can also choose if you'd like to have a blanket to cover you up and a little pillow. If the props are there, you might as well. See, that's like heaven right there. I should just sleep like this tonight. If only I would stay in this pose, though. I kind of wiggle around in my sleep. And let's begin to just settle into a nice breathing pattern. Allow your breath to draw you into this moment, to this pose, the final surrender pose, allowing you to just be right here in this moment, letting go of anything that interferes. Let go of busy thoughts. Let go of any to-do lists. Let go of thinking about what's to come later or what was from earlier. Just be here. And allow this reflect and renewal practice to just draw you in to feeling restored and renewed, to help bring to the surface anything worth pondering later. And consider for the area of wealth what you would like to invite this year in 2021. What would you like to see in your life in the area of wealth? Allow each breath to draw you into this moment, feeling completely relaxed, settling into the support. Allow all the muscles in your face to relax. Your forehead opens, eyebrows and eyelids are soft, nostrils release, and mouth and jaw neutral. Arms filling with a little bit of warmth, traveling down to your wrists, to your hands, to the tips of your fingers. Relaxation settles into your torso, traveling down your hips to your legs, all the way to your ankles and your feet, to the tips of your toes. Feeling completely relaxed in your mind, your body, your spirit. Feeling at peace. Final surrender, Shavasana. Slowly bring awareness and movement back as you wiggle your fingers and toes. Bring some of that movement through the feet and the ankles. And then slowly roll to your side as you help yourself up to a seated position. And thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through this 4-part series of Reflect and Renew. It was my honor to guide you through your practice today, where we focused on the area of wealth. Hopefully some insights for you to ponder later. We'll end with Namaste. The teacher me honors a teacher in you. Namaste. Be well.